Morning, welcome to the shop. Normally you see me come in through the back door. Today I'm coming in through the front because we're not going to be working on this gigantic printer, which has been taking up all my time lately and causing me to neglect my daily duties. So today we're going to be doing rotors and pads on the Monster. A lot of fun ahead of us today. Normally I don't mind doing brakes on this. It's with the big Mack truck, 22.5 Alcoas on there. I'm actually able to do pads and calipers without even taking the wheels off or jacking the truck up. It's freaking amazing. Let me show you. We peek under here. You can see I can crawl right under. And boom, get right to the calipers. Same with the back. And there's plenty of room to slip them right in and out within those wheels, which is freaking awesome. So is working on everything else under here. But the only problem is when it does come to having to take these wheels off, you gotta be a freaking bodybuilder. There's gotta be at least 100 pounds with the tires on them. Another plus with running these big 18-wheeler tires is they last like 1,000,000 miles on these light trucks. Well, they're considered light for these tires, so don't expect to have to buy 2 pairs in your lifetime. Or 2 sets, actually. You should be good with 1 set forever. So I'm going to start in the front. Calipers, pads. I got the drilled rotors on here. Drilled and slotted. Once we get started, I'll explain to you why I'm going back to the solid rotors. But let me get some gloves on. Set you guys up on the stand. And we'll get started. Alright, so we're chocked in the back, we're jacked up in the front. I think it's a sign that, or fate, whatever you want to call it, that I did my brakes today, because look at this. I'll show you over here. I got a bad tie rod end. Watch, right here. You see the movement. And not only that, I have 0 forward and backward spin on the front here. Should have maybe a hair. Might be good. Yeah, so this is definitely no good. I have an extra, which is great. I was about to hop online and start running the auto parts stores all over. I have an extra. I don't know if I'll be doing that in this video with the brakes, but I will be doing this before I drive this truck again. That's for sure. Alright, so let's get back to the brakes. Wow, that was crazy. Alright, so first thing, get these spikies off. Alright, let me go grab a socket for the impact and we'll get this wheel off. Alright, so these bad boys are 13/16. You don't have to touch these monsters if you have this wheel set up, because these just hold the spacer on that adapts to this wheel. From here on in, any size, stock, whatever, you're going to be doing the brakes the same way. Once it's Take some weight off the threads here. There we go. Okay, we're off. Okay. Alright. Lug nuts are part of the spacer. If I have the right tap, I'll chase them later instead of changing the studs. Alright, you guys see good from there? Now we have this that's got to come off of the rotor. You can take it off with the rotor, you can take it off now. Doesn't really matter. We'll just take it off now. They give you these holes so you can put your extension through and then put your socket on here. Alright, on to the caliper removal. So we have, what do we got here? 11/16 on our guide pin bolts. I've already cracked them loose. There's no issues there. And then we have a very tight 13/16 on the caliper bolts. They're snug, which is good. You don't have to worry about stripping them. I already loosened them, but they might be a little tough getting out of the socket. So let's get the upper caliper off. Bungee cord. Put that somewhere up there. Trusty old DeWalt. Once you crack the bolts, this thing's great for taking them out the rest of the way. Right? Bolts still look crispy new from when I last did the calipers. One thing, when you got a truck this big and heavy with these big wheels, the suspension and the chassis parts aren't meant for the stresses from these big wheels and tires. So you always keep extra tie rod ends, ball joints, stuff like that, you know, around, because they're gonna go. And I've had a wheel fall off of this truck, and it wasn't fun. My only blessing was that day, the truck three-wheeled it into the closest parking lot. I was like 100 feet from a parking lot. The passenger side wheel snapped off the ball joint and was flopping around like a pancake, just hanging on this part. And I made it into a freaking parking lot without smashing up my fenders and everything underneath. It was freaking amazing. Alright, those bolts are out. Let's get this off. Just pry her off. Top. Bottom. That's what sucks about these riveted pads. You have these stupid rivets and they get caught in the caliper cups. Freaking pain in the ass. Let me get a small pry bar and pry back those pistons. Ooh, wonder if this caliper is seized. I mean, that could be an issue from running such bad rotors for so long. I could have cooked this caliper. I don't want to move. Alright, that bottom piston went in nice. Ooh, this top piston don't want to go nowhere. Oh no. Don't tell me I need a caliper now. So the bottom should be off of that rivet. The top is still hooked. Wow. Try a bigger bar here. So it looks like I'm gonna need a caliper on this side too. Wasn't really feeling a pull left or right though. Unless it just went, you know? Okay, that should be be enough. Nope, not enough. Now I don't think I have an extra front caliper. I might. I know I have extra rears. Here we go. Yeah, the rubber boot slipped off and let all the corrosion and dirt in there. That's it. That'll kill a freaking rotor. Something as simple as this rubber boot popping off. So see, you guys are going to learn a little bit more today. You're going to learn how to change the caliper and bleed the brakes. I told you, if it could happen to me, it's going to happen. Hang this up for now. We'll continue with getting this rotor off. These old pads. Look at this, nothing left on them. You could definitely tell I neglected this thing. Look at that. It's the beauties right there. These are those pain in the ass rivets that they get caught on there. I'm going to be greasing everything up nice on this guy. I already cracked these loose. They're 13/16. Get it right here. There's one. Two. There. Old piece of shit rotor. Alright, look at this piece of crap, huh? Alright, let me go see if I have another caliper. Alright, so unfortunately I do not have an extra front caliper. I only have 2 extra backs, which is good. So if we crack the backs open and one's bad, at least I'll have that. This caliper I'm not going to be able to get till tomorrow, but I don't want to waste time, so I'll bring you guys around to the other side. And when I get up to this point, we'll bring you right back. Alright, so we're on to the passenger side now. Since I couldn't finish the driver's side, we won't have that rotor till tomorrow. And I got all new lug nuts all around, because those lug nuts are shot. So I'm up to where we were on that side. I got the rotor off. This side was a different story. The caliper pistons move great. I'm still going to grease, and clean them up. The pads were actually pretty good. That's because all the pressure was going to the driver's side, trying to squeeze that caliper, because there was nothing left to it. Here's the rotor, rusted to shit, and it's like a record right there, grooved to hell. The only reason it didn't chew those pads apart was because of the fluid going to there, and my rears are pretty bad, so those are spreading the fluid around. Now I got nice solid rotors, nice and thick, meaty. Just gonna slide these on. I already cleaned the hub up. One thing I will mention when you're shopping for these rotors, if you have an early 99, you're gonna have to find a special set of rotors just for your truck. Early 99 dually. Or else your clearances with the caliper and the rotor aren't going to be right, and you're going to have a pain in the ass time wondering what the hell's going on when you can't fit the caliper on the rotor. So what I did was upgrade my wheel bearings. If you change the whole wheel bearings, because they're interchangeable between the early 99 and the 2000s up. So if you change the wheel bearings, then you can just buy rotors for a 2000 to 2003 F350 Dually. You don't have to worry about finding the early 99 ones, then matching them to the calipers, making sure your calipers are going to work with them. So the wheel bearings are not expensive. I mean, if your truck is in the early 99, you should be changing them anyway by now. Especially if you have big off-road tires or you're hauling a lot of weight. Change those wheel bearings and put on a set of 2000s. 2001, 2, or 3 on there, and then boom, you can just buy rotors without worry. Alright, so let's get back together here. My rotors are back on. I'm going to clean off. Well, let me get my pads, see if they came with clips. Nice new pads. These are those Detroit axles. I've had good luck with them. As you could see how bad that rotor is, or how good those pads still are. So there's the pads. We have our clips. So let me face you guys down there so you can see what's going on with the clips. Basically, we're going to pop these old clips off here. They snap in. Clean the surface so they're not raised up at all. Find the same clip that was in the same spot and snap them on. Simple, simple. Do that all around. Pop it off. Wipe it down. Pop it on. That's the bottoms. The tops. This is to this side. Wrong one again. Okay, that's that. These are our pins. I'm going to pop these guys out. Wipe the old grease off in case there's moisture in there. Wipe some new high temp, high pressure moly grease on here. Get it in here, because this is what's going to hold the grease, is these boots. Okay, little in the hole. Get that back in there. Work it. In and out. You know, get any excess out. You don't want too much in the back under the pin, because that's going to cause a little issue. Not much, trust me. Strong enough to override that, but any resistance is futile, right? More grease on this one. I cleaned it off. Okay, I like to grease these up also because your pads slide back and forth on these clips. So I grease the surfaces where the pad's going to slide on. Makes it easier to install the pad also. Now you got your 3 surfaces it's going to slide on. The bottom, the front, and this tab in the back. So grease these. Grease these. And we're ready to go back on with this guy. These big monster bolts. Okay. How do we go, here we go. How were we here? Like this? Yeah, like this. Oh, I was gonna say, better be good. Better fit right. After all that explaining, let me move you guys back up. Oh, where's the other big bolt? It's freaking down. There's the bolt. Zip them in with the cordless DeWalt. Snug them with the ratchet. These aren't like impact guns, these cordless ratchets. You gotta watch out, they'll rip your arm off if it's a good one. Out my way there. Come on. Okay. See what I mean? Okay. Get my breaker bar. I want to get these nice and tight. Get snug on these here. Come on. I didn't think they'd have to go in that much further. Okay. That's torqued to my standard. This thing's in my way here. Come on. What the? Oh. Okay. Once you get the that's about torque. Alright, good. Not rubbing anywhere. Wiping the grease off of this. Huh. Okay, now we'll get our pads in. You just snap in to the little flaps here. Depending on what brand you get, sometimes these things are a fight to get in. They're really tight. I've actually had to grind the tops of these on certain brands. Kind of go in like a little bit sideways and then twist them in. Little spring-em-a-bobs. These are going to go in these holes up here. Sometimes these are a pain when you're setting the calipers in. They want to pop out, they pop through the holes. Sometimes they're easy. These give you a little return back. I don't know how much. There's barely any pressure on them. But it must give you some help. Okay, that's that. And then you want to grease the back of your pads. I do it after they're in so I don't get any on my fingers and get it on the face of the pads. Just cover the whole back because your caliper is going to be rubbing on this and you'll get squeaks and all sorts of clanky noises and stuff. So just grease the backs of this. Just cover the whole plate in the back. So we don't got to worry about exactly where you got to get. Just cover the whole back. Okay, that's all greased up. Now, my caliper tool to push back the pistons. You can take an old pad, stick that on top of your pistons, take your caliper tool and put it in there and start squeezing, and that'll push your pistons back in. It's a dual piston, you do one side at a time. Make sure the pistons are all the way back. Okay, you can see they're flush here. And I want to get a little grease on these faces here for movement, keep them free. This face here, I want to get it on the face of the calipers here, a little on the rubber to keep it soft. A little extra insurance here, you can see. Okay, we're going to release this from the bungee, get her on, watch these bouncy, springy things, stay in the middle, like that, perfect. See how the springs land back there? That's perfect. Now we get our little screws, pop these guys back in, and line these pins up so they don't spin when you tighten them. Okay, that one's started. Bottom one here. And that one there. Okay. Get a little socket. 11/16. Make sure there's locks in here. There's like a groove that your pin plate will stick in and keep it from spinning while you're tightening it. Okay, throw this on the ratchet, get a little snug. The walt's got some power, huh? I think pretty snug. You don't want to go crazy with those. You strip those out, you're going to have some real fun. Okay, get rid of this stuff here. Now we can get our wheel back on. I like to put a little grease over here. This goes on. These threads are freaking perfect. I'm not going to worry about putting anything on the threads for these nuts. Because they move nicey nice. And you can see where I greased, where this sits. Any way you get metal to metal, especially if it's two different metals, you get electrolysis, expansion, salt, even chemical reaction, could weld you together, and then you're sitting with a sledgehammer trying to get these things off. Especially those giant wheels, man. When they get stuck, forget about it. We'll see how these dually wheels in the back come apart. They're a nightmare sometimes. Alright, let's tighten these suckers up. Seven eighths. Put this on number 1. Oh, I clicked them like that. Oh, number 3. Okay, I'm going to crisscross. Crossing that one. Make sure our rotor sits on flat, you know. Crisscross, and then keep going back and forth with these. Use a marker if you want to mark them. I'm not trying to kill it with this impact either. This impact, I think it's like 1,200 pounds or something at max torque. Gonna get it pretty far with the impact. That's all of them. Just gonna run my breaker bar around, see how I feel by hand, you know. Yeah, just gonna test a couple. They're good, and we're good. Yeah, you're not getting tighter than that. Okay, let's grease up this mating area again. Wipe it down a little here. Wipe these threads off. See, let me see if I have the right tap for this so I could chase these. Get some anti-seize on this brush here. Wipe it on. A little goes a long way with this stuff. change my gloves after. Okay. These are heavy at the base since that's where you're going to be settling. Well, mid-range. So your lug nuts are going to be sitting down. You want to kick out the moisture. Okay, so you got anti-seize on the threads. And then we're going to put some regular grease on the back of the spacer and on this lip here, so we got no wheel sticking issues. Get some grease on here. Help fight the moisture, keep the moisture out. There, get some on the back. Yeah. Nice coat in here. This is aluminum going onto steel, so that makes a pretty strong bond sometimes. Okay, that's all greased up. Wipe a little of this excess off back here. I'm not collecting dirt. A little bit of grease on the rotor here. Okay, we're ready for the tire. Tire and wheel. Alright, let's bring this 100-pound wheel over. It's starting to rain, that's my luck. Look how high this thing is compared to me. Oh, this tire's higher than my belt. Probably weighs more than me too. Getting this on and lined up is a real nightmare. See how we do. Okay. See where we're at. We're pretty high. I can't get that up and on. We'll have to lower the jack some. Where we at? We're like right there. I don't think I'll be able to lift that up and on. I can't see where we're at. Just gotta come all the way up to there. Like that. Let's see. move on to the backs. Alright, now we're on to the back rotors and pads. The back is a different story because you got to pull out axles, bearings, you got to grease, all that fun stuff. Look at the rotors just from here, how bad they are. Oh my god. Look how long that view is down the bottom of this truck. It's like looking down a battleship. Holy cow. Alright. 20-ton jack. Jack this bad boy up. Heavy ass tires. I got wheel chocks up in the front. We'll move our tools back here. Here we go, I'm off the ground. Move our tools back here and get going. Alright, same thing. I'm gonna pull off all these spikes. Ooh. These lug nuts are a little smaller. They actually tuck into the holes, unlike the fronts. So I'm thinking maybe the fronts could use smaller lug nuts so the socket could fit in there, because these look like they're probably only like 3/4 now. Let's see what fits on these. Let's get these off. I gotta remove these big ass nuts to be able to separate these wheels. Alright, let's get to that. Alright, got the big monster 33mm. At least the wheels are free from the hub. But the worst part is freeing them from each other, because it's a steel wheel in the back, aluminum wheel in the front, so they always bond together. Alright, now this is going to release off of this spacer. If it's too tough, we're going to have to put a couple of these lug nuts back on to hold the inner wheel and spacer in there so we can get this off. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. That's the quickest those ever came apart. The quickest. Now let me get a bar. Pry these wheels up and out. Come on. Hurt these threads. Huh. Best way to do this. One, get out of the way. Ain't that the ugliest wheel you've ever seen in your life? I just want you to see how high these wheels are compared to me. these are even heavier because these have the spacer. Now you got the spacer coming off and the wheel to worry about. Okay, that's off. Look at this thing. Oy. This out of the way. Okay, we'll move you back in near the hub here. Look how ugly everything is from the freaking winter, man. Everything's just so nasty. I can't stand it. Okay. The spacer off. This thing weighs a freaking ton. Now we gotta pull the axle and the bearings out so that we can get to the rotor. Got so many layers just to look at this rotor. Got so many layers just to get back there. This poor caliper. Poor caliper. Alright, let me get what I need to get this all apart. Alright. Now we got a 15mm for this axle hub bolts. I got a little pan because you might get a little differential gear oil might come out. Wouldn't be too much, just a couple drips. Let's get these all off of here. Alright, last bolt. Okay, those are all out. Now we're gonna pull this off. This is the axle. See, that's what I meant by a little bit of grease coming out. This is gonna be a little bit messy here. Let's just get this all the way out. Try to hold the front up a little so you're not just dragging it out. Just wipe it down as they go. There's shit getting everywhere here. Okay, and that's an axle. I'll just lean this up back here. Right in the old exhaust pipe. Okay. Next we have our bearings, and I thought I brought out a bearing socket. Let me go find that now. Alright, so this is a socket for the axle nut. 2 3/4. It's on nice and makes it a little easier to feel because you pretty much install these by feel. You want it snug, but you don't want the wheel binding, you know? Okay. The rest by hand. Out. So this is the axle nut right here. Lay this here. And you got a bearing next. This will start coming out once we pull this caliper off. So let's get the caliper off. Then we can pull that out. And you don't got to worry about the bearing now because you're going to get it anyway, but yeah, might as well just wait till you pull off the pull this off, it'll come off so you don't damage it. Okay, get this caliper off. Alright, so get your bungee cord ready. You need a 12 and an 18. 18 first for the caliper bracket. Now right here. Well, first we'll get the caliper off. So let's use the 12 first for the pins. Make sure we're on loosen this time. One. Two. Okay. Now we use the pry bar to push in the pistons a little bit. You could just pry this guy forward a little behind the ears and push the pistons in. As long as they're not seized up like the front one was. Okay. Should be good enough. There we go. Let's hang her up. So at least we're good with this caliper. Let's get these old freaking pads out of here. Yuck. Yuck. So these weren't too bad, but the rotors are shot, you know? Same deal. So they really weren't doing their job, because with the rotors this scraped up, you're barely getting any. On top of the drilled and the cross hatching, you're getting like no surface area of clamping force, you know? These pins are gonna get replaced down here. Once you get this off, got new ones of these. So let's just get this off. Get these off. And then that was a 18 to get the caliper bracket off. There's one. Make sure you hold it. Two. This caliper bracket. And clean where the clips go. Okay, we'll get more into that in a minute. Let's get the rotor taken care of, because again, this is like two pieces here. We're gonna have to split this apart. So we can start pulling this off now. All right, here's the bearing. So got it off enough to catch our bearing. Okay. We'll put an old rag over these bearings so that we don't drop anything onto them, like metal shavings or rust or anything. Let's get this off. Stand it up right here. You don't gotta go far. Oh, a lot of gook in there. That's my fault. Let me see this rag quick. Freaking all over the driveway. Look at that. Freaking great. Okay. So I guess I'll stand it on the pan. And I'll move these bearings onto the wood over here and put the rag on them. Okay. Let's show you what we got in here. Take these gloves off for a second. Okay. So inside here, you have the rotor that you can see is shot. And that's connected to that hub adapter. And you have a axle seal right here. Keeps the grease inside. I already changed that last time, so you don't have to worry about that anyway, because it's not coming off with the rotor. It stays in that axle hub. So these bolts are all 15, I believe. Yep, so we're gonna go ahead and unscrew all these bolts. Take this rotor off and then put the new rotor right back the way it was. So let me take care of that real quick. Alright, all these screws are out. Pop this rotor right off. Tap. Put the new rotor right on. Bada bing, bada boom. Wipe down the seal a little bit in here so I don't forget. Okay. Let's get all our bolts back in. Freaking emergency brake backing plate is so rotted, man. I swear the salt's been doing way more damage recently than it's done in the past. I just did a whole new emergency brake rebuild like a year ago, and it's disintegrated already. Then again, I didn't live so close to the water as I do now. Alright, let's tighten these up. Crisscross, applesauce. Kiss. Okay. Wipe this axle down here. At least the mating surface here. Got a lot of dirt in here. Ooh, look at that. A lot of dirt in this emergency brake. You know what I mean? No sense in wiping it too much, so rusted through in the back, so have to do that in the next brake job. Alright, let's pick her up and slide her on. Clean my hands a little better. Find a clean part of this rag. I'm gonna grease all over this rotor. Okay. Pick her up. Start her on. Okay. You want to lift and go on. You don't want to drag. Boom, that's it. Very easy. Okay. A gook from this pan. Okay. That's all good. Could slide our bearing back in. Pack it with a little grease. Here's our bearing. The clean part of the rag. Wipe it down a little in case you got any sand or anything on it. Run some grease through it. Fun part. Really work it in the slots. Push it in. It's gonna get some lube from the axle lube, but it really isn't supposed to get too much because that's what that seal is doing. Actually, no, that seal doesn't do that. This is only covered by this axle nut, really. Okay. That taper goes this way. Boom. Nicey nice. Ugh. Get my axle nut. Clean these threads a little bit. Ugh. Same thing. Clean off a little of this thinned out gear lube. Okay. Put a little grease on the back. Right here. Where it mates to the bearing. And then you got two key slots that are going to line up to the key in this right there. Boom. Take our special socket here, start screwing her on. Now this is where you're gonna, you know, your sense of feel comes in handy here. Tighten it up, but you're not gonna crank it. See, that spins good. I don't have any in and out movement. A little rubbing on this emergency brake plate, but it's really nothing. Nothing to do with the brakes, really. Go a little bit tighter. A little tighter. No in and out. It's good. That's it right there. Right there, we're nice. Okay. Give it a pull, make sure. Spin, twist, wobble, whatever you want to do. That's good. I always get like a double, triple check on this because sometimes, you know, I want to be sure. Alright, let's get our axle. Get a little grease on the splines. There you go. Want to try to hold it upward as you slide it in, so you're not just dragging it across the bottom. Okay. So you gotta push down and go up. You'll feel it kind of snap in. Boom. Right to where your holes were, see? Once you get stuck in your bolts back in, you'll line back up. Alright. I'm gonna get rid of this dirty ass pan, get some clean gloves, and I'll be right back. Alright, let's get this all back together and the caliper back on. These bolts here. We'll put our new caliper brackets on. Just like that. That and like that. Pull our pins. Sometimes the rubber comes off with them, sometimes it doesn't. And put some new grease on here. One. Make sure the rubber grabs and seals. This guy out. Two. Okay, baby's ready to go back in place. Line this up here. Get your big bolts. Let me get you back in action here. Okay. Get your big bolts here. Line these guys up. These were 18, I believe. 18 millimeter. my ratchet. Put my 18 on it. Tighten these up. Caliper right my way, right? Of course. Let's try from up here. Crazy, right? If it ain't one thing, it's another, right? Don't slip. Okay, it's that. Let's grease our sliding surfaces like I did in the front. Don't get it on the disc, the rotor, just get it on these tabs. Okay, get these pads in. One. And two. Grease up the front and the back one on the plate where the caliper is going to sit against. Stop any noise, squeaking, rattling. There is a friction point. Just do the whole thing. Don't try to guess where the piston's gonna hit or the front ears or yada yada. I'll get my nose out of your way in a second here. Okay. I already pushed these pistons in before by when I was prying it off. We could go again and see. Make sure they're in all the way. It's one. You really got to use a brake pad, because if you press one, the other one's going to come out. You press that one, the other one's going to come out. You really want them to do it at the same time, you know? Sometimes I could get them in by hand, but I don't think that's enough. No, let me get one of the old pads so we could squeeze this in. Alright, so we take one of the old pads, throw it in there so it's touching both pistons. Throw your special tool in here. Oops, that wasn't cool. Throw our tool in here, clamp it down. And there we go. Clamp it till you see both pistons level out. There you go. Perfect. Release it. Get off this bungee here. Throw her on. There's no springy thing or nothing like the front ones had for the backs here. Huh. It's weird. Feels like it's... Oh, there you go. Just that. I got rid of the rubber lines and put the stainless lines in so you don't get expansion when you hit your brakes. You get a little spongy feeling sometimes with those rubber lines. So I did the whole truck. I changed them all to stainless, braided stainless with the rubber coating on them. Make it a little better. Tell you, with this big heavy truck, you want to make your braking, anything that's going to help it, you want to do. You don't want to leave anything to chance. Tighten these up. once all the brakes are done, because I'm gonna have to bleed them anyway when I do that caliper in the front. Then I'll pedal it and clamp everything. All right, let's get these wheels on. I hate this part. So I already put a layer of grease all around here, so we don't get any seize up on this. This is the spacer to go to them big ass truck wheels there. Get a little grease on this aluminum here, because it's going aluminum to steel. Always sticks to like this bottom surface more than the back. Would have thought you'd have to be a painter to do this job. Okay, first wheel. Even though this one's so much thinner, just because it's steel, it's way heavier. That other wheel is almost an inch thick of aluminum, but still doesn't weigh close to as much as this wheel. Okay. It's got to be easy 150 pounds. I would say that's the least. Okay. See where we're at. It's not like the front where I could just spin it and get it right. It's locked in place, so we got to get this tire right. Alright, let's see what we got here. Yeah, I can't turn this. Get some grease on this now. It'll be easier to do now before the lug nuts are in it. These dually wheels, man, when they don't want to come apart, they don't want to come apart. I've seen people wrap chains around them, hook them to forklifts, put jacks in between them, hydraulic cylinders. When I first got this truck and had to separate these wheels, I could not do it. It was almost impossible. I think that's what I think, yeah, I put like a jack on an angle under the truck and pressed it against the back of the wheel, one of the wheels. There's like no other way to do it. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm gonna twist this, spin it back a little bit, I guess. Nothing. Alright, got that one heavy ass, ugly ass wheel on. Coated this with grease over here. That way you don't stick together. Get the next wheel. Oh man. The wheels are monsters. This you got to get them both together because they're screwed together. And you can't turn the hub to line them up. It's hard. Oh, actually, this looks close. This looks close. Let's see what we get. Boom. Whew, right on. That's not normal. Okay, now we gotta jack it up a little higher. Okay, now we gotta get them locked in together. It's all hub centric. Alright, gonna get the rest of these spikes on. Do the same thing on the other side with the rotors. I think I'll save the caliper and the tie rod end for the next video. So if you need to see how to do either one of those, catch me on the next one. And I appreciate you hanging around. I really do. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one. Peace.